Got OU. Oklahoma Sooners, man. One of the first newcomer we'll talk about today to the SEC just wrapped up their last regular season of the Big 12, bringing that brand name over to the SEC, man. Listen, of the two schools, I've already talked to Jason about this. I felt like Oklahoma got the harder of the schedule. We'll look at Texas as it's here coming up. But at least you start the year, decently. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
got your Tulane. I mean, Houston's no pushover, but you get them at home. You should handle them no problem. Tulane, I don't know what they'll look like. Of course, they're
Now that
coming off
Willie went to Houston.
now that
Yeah.
Willie went to Houston, right? And they're coming off of two good seasons there, but I think that'll be again another one. Then you get Tennessee, your first SEC experience, you get it at home. You know what I'm saying? So it's not the worst schedule, but again, when you compare between this one and Texas, I think OU, you got to go to Auburn, which
The road
again,
games make it harder than you obviously have in Alabama at home at the end. But I mean, you got Alabama and LSU back to back at the end of it.
Yeah,
that's
that's kind of
that's
brutal.
bananas right there, dog.
That's
Like
kind of that kind of sucks.
ending the season with Alabama and LSU is at least you get a bye
You're gonna
before
have a lot on the
Alabama.
line. I would think you're gonna have a lot of line on the line at that point. You
Yeah.
know,
So because I would say right now, if I'm just looking at the schedule, Jason, the game that is really going to test you, that at Ole Miss, they always play good at home. They're not very good on the road under Lane. They'll have a lot of offense. So and listen, it's again a SEC road environment. If you can't, I know you're going to try to get to a lot of these tailgating wise on your schedule. It doesn't get better than Ole Miss.
the Grove. Yeah,
The Grove, dog. The Grove is bananas with the tailgate. So
yeah, no doubt.
so how you feeling overall about the schedule? I know you talked about it on your channel.
So just wanted to say the LSU game is on the road as well. So that's at LSU. So that's going to be definitely a tough one. I think that the Tennessee game, you expect to win that. I mean, I know that Josh Heupel is going to be hyped for that game to come back. He's a little upset at Bob Stoops for firing him still. I mean, they haven't talked since. So that's one of those things that
Didn't know that.
Yeah, when he fired him as the OC, they haven't spoken since. In fact, and apparently Hype didn't even go to Leach's funeral because of it.
Oh my God. Wow. Jeez.
That's apparently. I mean, I don't want to be, I've heard that from multiple people, but I think he's going to come in, and I think they're going to try to love on him a little bit because he's their last quarterback to win the national title for Oklahoma. But I think that you probably win that one. The one that you get worried about, and it's because we keep hearing about it, is Jordan Hare and being haunted, and it's going to be a nighttime game. So that
place is haunted.
It's a big test. It's a big test. I think that your first road game as a SEC member, there's a lot to that. So I think that that's tough. The good news is you get a bye after that, no matter what happens, and then you go into Texas. The Texas game, being a neutral site game. Look, man, I'm never going to pick against Oklahoma in this game. No matter what, I think. I mean, they beat them this year, and Texas is a playoff team. So it's one of those things you just expect to win if you're OU there. South Carolina, not going to talk about South Carolina right here, but that's a home game. We'll be hosting old Stat Guy for this game, October 19th. So looking forward to that one. And then I think you're right. I think Ole Miss is going to be tough. At Mizzou, we never really worry about Mizzou, man. I'm looking at the record. It's like 67-24 against them.
Now, when's the last time you guys played Mizzou since they left the Big 12? Because I don't think you guys have...
when they left the Big 12. So it's been 11 years.
I don't think that. Yeah, I mean, Nebraska hasn't played them either.
And Mizzou and Mizzou fans are different cats, man. They come in and it's weird because I'll have a video or something and you'll get a Mizzou fan that just comments on it and starts talking trash and equating you with Texas and blah blah blah. Which whatever, man. But
that's making for some of these new rivalries, maybe not the historical like that.
Tim keeps calling it a rivalry. How is it a rivalry when you're 67-24, man? That's not a real rival.
Hey, man. It's like one of those rivals that's not like your true rival.
You don't care about them. We kick their butts 9 out of 10 times. They're going to get 1 out of 10. You move on.
Yeah,
Now, obviously, they're a better football team right now than they've been in a long time, I think, and particularly but there's a little the stuff. I don't know if you've been paying attention to what's been going on with Caden Green and all this. If he ends up there and plus Williams Winery, and there's looking like there's some stuff there that is now they're on Oklahoma's radar because you're pissing them off because you're taking away players out of the portal and doing some stuff like that. I think that could amp it up a little bit, but I say OU wins it. In the end, I think that, the Ole Miss game and the Auburn games could be losses. And I think that if you can beat Alabama, great, but I don't see winning a road game at nighttime at Baton Rouge. So I just don't see you doing it.
Yeah.
I don't think if LSU sucks, they probably still win the game.
Well, a night game at LSU, it doesn't really matter how good they are.
Right.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Right. And I hear it's haunted there too. So I hear it's haunted there too. So
Well, this is what I'll say about the
Auburn
game. The Auburn game, you actually want Auburn to be good because then they'll get your attention, the players' attention, and of course Brent Venables will be focused anyway. You don't want to play at Auburn when they're kind of so because that's when all the
that's
craziness
when the weird shit happens.
Just like this year, they played Bama and Georgia tough, and
Georgia.
they weren't that good.
Yeah.
It wasn't that good,
No.
and then they lost to. And you don't want them you don't want it to be like that, like I say, that 3:30 tonight game because that atmosphere is it's bananas. It's probably outside of LSU, I would say Auburn, regardless of size. I know Tennessee fans will disagree, but outside of LSU, I think Auburn's probably the loudest when you talk about it from a player perspective. So
yeah, that place is crazy.
Yeah. So Tim,
it's crazy there.
I'm here for all of it. I can't wait. It's gonna be fun.
What do you think about Oklahoma's initial schedule coming into the SEC, man? Did they? It's not Florida's.
It's on, baby. It's on. Welcome. It's on. Hey, I can't wait, man. Listen, Oklahoma and Texas coming to the SEC. It's a great thing for college football. I don't care what anybody says. I will say the SEC though. If I was the SEC, I would have a gripe at the end of the season. Like, hey man, we should have half the bracket to ourselves. Like, I don't care what nobody say. These games are getting crazier and crazier. One thing for Oklahoma that'll be kind of interesting is I know normally, like, what did you say? Biggest games, Texas, right? Every year.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
So, normally that game is played at 11, right?
Well, it's normally at 12 because of I always thought 12, because of the fair and
yes, they're not going to play it any later than 2:30 would be the very latest, but I think they're going to definitely continue playing it at noon because of the fact that the fair, and then where the fair's at, you don't want to be there after dark, man.
What city is that in Texas again?
It's in Dallas. It's in Dallas. So it's in the rough side of Dallas. So it's if you've been to the fairgrounds over there, it's definitely a time you want to get out of there before the sun goes down for sure.
I got you.
What I find interesting is I don't think that going forward, Texas will be your biggest game of the year with the schedule that you have. So that's why I find interesting I don't know what time that the Alabama LSU game is, because I think that'll probably be, even if you mess around and lose to Texas, right, you still have Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss on the schedule to be able to kind of redeem yourself. So I think that when you start to look at those games, depending on where they are at night, like I say, your biggest game is normally at 12 every year. Now you go to whatever the Alabama game is, the LSU game. I think that'll be an interesting dynamic for you all. So
yeah, I think the difference is, and me and Jason talked about it. He knows it too. Whereas the Big 12, and he actually said it, the Big 12 has been kind of down, the last 4 or 5 years or whatever.
10.
So coming in, 10
yeah, it's been 10.
Yeah, and coming in, man, Texas is always going to be the hated rival, but then it's not like you get to finish off with the whoever's Kansas State, no disrespect, but they're just not Oklahoma,
or
Kansas,
Oklahoma State,
or Oklahoma State. Yeah, you got the Ole Miss and Alabama and the LSU. So I think as a fan, though, you look forward to that because you get better games.
Definitely. And I think that if anything, that's Oklahoma up until the last couple of years has been dominant in this conference. And they were right there in the thick of it at the end of this season too. But you got to think of in terms of That's the hard thing, is keeping their attention. Now, I don't think that you can lose attention span here. I mean, you know,
Not if you
it
want
would
to
be easy. It would be easy to overlook South Carolina because you just got done playing Texas, and now you got to play South Carolina at home, and you figured they're going to be bad. But Beamer knows Oklahoma. He was at Oklahoma right before he took the job.
Yeah.
You know? So you got to know that he's going to have his guys up for that game, and then you can't be looking ahead at Lane. I just don't think that you can. And I think that with Missouri, I think if they're going to look ahead of anybody, it might be them, but they should still have a good record by that point. You know what I mean? I think that we just saw their schedule. It's pretty soft. So, you know, they at most they should have one loss at that point. Really?
Yeah, stat guy. The one game on the schedule outside of Texas and Bama, because those are kind of, we know they're going to be important. But the game that you like, Oklahoma needs this in the first year.
So because my team's coming up, I will go different. I'm going to say at Missouri. I think that at Missouri loss could be the difference in them going 6-6 and them going 8-4.
Because they own that rivalry, so it's expected. I think that's a good call because it's expected. Not that you're gonna lose, but that's the game that I think you need to win because you own Missouri, and I don't think it would do well. Again, Brent Venables was there for a lot of those wins. It wouldn't do well, you know, for the psyche if you did lose to them. Even though I think this is a different Missouri team than played in the Big 12. I think they've adjusted their roster accordingly, you know, in the trenches and things of that nature. So I think that's a good call on that game. I don't think, like I said, I think Oklahoma has the better roster. So, but it is on the road, and we'll see what Missouri can. If Missouri falls back into their Big 12 ways and just continue to lose to Oklahoma, or gives Oklahoma a game.
We got it jumping like it's that valley. I call my dogs out the pound. Let's go eat. Turn on the fanatic. Let's have a debate. Who really hold down the Southeast from state to state? What team hungry gonna eat everything up off they plate?